Hello everyone, this is Big Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you. I'm going to talk about Star Trek Picard, its second season, and the prospects for the show going forward, and can it convince any more fans of the franchise to enjoy it and come back for new iterations of Star Trek going ahead for the future. Now, the first full trailer for Star Trek Picard Season 2 dropped yesterday on Star Trek Day, but I was reporting on the Matrix Resurrections trailer, so I couldn't do a full breakdown, but I'll just quickly go over some of my thoughts on the original trailer throughout this video itself. Now, the trailer itself, to be honest, didn't leave me with any more enthusiasm, not because it was a terrible trailer itself, but just where I wasn't any convinced more by the concept of the overall season and where they're going with the overall show. So when we look at the concept and the story direction behind the season itself, basically, we're getting a story where the crew have been transported, it seems, to an alternate reality or alternate future, where the Federation are basically carrying out totalitarian rule over the planet. We have this very typical dark dystopian reality where we see all of the Picard crew in these typical, how can I say, fascist, Nazi type of suits, all these black suits, very reminiscent to what we saw in the original Star Wars films. And it seems that this is very much of an evil reality, so the team have to work together to go back in time to change the outcome of the darker future. So they have to go back to the 21st century. It's not established why, but of course we'll find out later on within the show. They go back to San Francisco to do this, of course. So essentially, the vibes I'm getting from this trailer itself is that it's basically a Injustice stroke Star Trek for the voyage home. Now, if you know anything about fandom, you know that Injustice is the DC superhero classic storyline where essentially we have an alternate version where Superman takes over the world with a totalitarian rule, of course, and Batman has to basically work together to combat that. And the storyline within Star Trek for the voyage home, of course, is that the crew have to go back in time to 80 San Francisco in order to combat this space probe that is posing a threat to the whole universe. So that's essentially the dynamic that we're getting from this trailer. We have a couple of classic characters from the franchise returning. We have Q coming back. We all know him from the Next Generation, and we knew this way back because we had earlier clips and short teaser trailers hinting at his return. And we have the return of the Borg Queen as well throughout this trailer. We saw in the earlier scenes as well. So very much, again, we're bringing back old characters from the franchise instead of introducing newer characters to the franchise to make it much more fresh and invigorating. So again, this is going to annoy a lot of fans of the original franchises of those shows. Why are we just repeating the same beats and bringing back old characters? Why can't we push forward with newer characters? So essentially, if we look at the overall aesthetic of the show, it looks like it will still have all of the modern day making traits of the big action, the quick edits, the lens flare, that same kind of aesthetic that we see a lot with Star Trek Discovery. So like Discovery itself, you know, Picard has been very divisive over purist Star Trek fans, and that's a bit of an understatement, to be honest, when we go over season 1, and you can check out my reviews of season 1 within my channel. Many fans didn't like the use of foul language by certain characters, the violence where we see loads of characters getting stabbed in the eye, and it had this real disdain for human life in many sense. Many felt it was against the true spirit, the optimistic feel and perspective of the original Star Trek series, and none of the supporting cast really resonated a lot with fans. Probably the most well received was the return of 7 of 9, Jerry Ryan. She still looks great in the role. A quick spoiler warning here, many people also didn't like the fact that Picard was essentially now a synthetic being following the terminal condition that he had from the first season. Many people question, of course, why didn't he go back into a younger body? And of course, you know why, because it would mean that you wouldn't have Patrick Stewart later on within the show. So many fans had a lot of issues with season 1. And when I look at so far what this trailer here is promising for season 2, it's not filling me with a lot of confidence, and I doubt that it's filling a lot of fans with a lot of confidence. Now, to be fair, this whole alternate reality storyline could basically be just the first arc, right? It could just be the first couple of episodes, and then we could see further substantial arcs going out through the second season. So we do have to wait and see how that will play out. The show has been renewed for a season 3 as well, so I was very surprised by that. I thought they would wait and at least to see how well the second season was received before going ahead with the third season. So they seem to have a lot of confidence, and again, this show has a very high budget, just like Star Trek Discovery, so they want to persist with it for a couple of seasons. I believe this second season is due to air on February 2022. So that will shortly follow Star Trek Discovery, which season 4 is due for release. I believe it's November the 18th. And of course, we've got the upcoming Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And I do believe there's a Prodigy series of Star Trek as well. And we also have the Star Trek Lower Decks season 2 animated show shortly coming. Now, I haven't watched Lower Decks at all, and I'm not really that invested, to be honest, in Star Trek Strange New Worlds either. I may do a review of the premiere episode, but we'll wait and see overall. But just going back to Picard, the vibes that I'm getting from this second season trailer, again, I don't think it's going to do any more to convince fans who are already against it. A lot of fans, I'm seeing a lot of reaction online, they just deem it as essentially a gimmick, more like just to go back and try and repeat those beats, particularly from the voyage home, when they're in the present day world and we see all of those scenes where they're adjusting. Some of them, they can't drive and they're just adjusting to the overall way of life within 21st century. So that's what I see. It's an unpopular opinion, but I'm not the greatest fan of A Voyage Home. I love Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3, but I didn't really feel that Voyage Home was that compelling of a storyline. But that's the seems what they're going for on here. So yeah, it just seems very unoriginal and very uninspired, and I think that's a shame because, again, Picard should be taking place in a future continuity, so we should get a lot of these fresher ideas and storylines and characters, but it just seems to be repeating a lot of the same beats from the previous films of the franchise and other films that we've seen. We look at the likes of The Terminator and Back to the Future Part 2 as well, so it's just that same familiar beats that we've seen overall. But to be fair, we don't know how the whole of the season will play out. It may surprise us. As unlikely as it is, it may come up with some extraordinary storylines halfway through the season that may convince more fans to join back with the overall show. We'll wait and see overall, but those are my just quick thoughts on the season 2 trailer of Picard, and particularly the show, and whether it can convince more of the fans or more of its detractors to come back and reconnect with the show. It's clear that CBS and Paramount still have confidence in the Star Trek franchise, given all of the shows that they're putting out in the future. So we'll wait and see, and we'll also see how well Star Trek Discovery season 4 plays out, and whether it will indeed get a season 5 in the future. So as usual with Star Trek Picard season 1, I will review the premiere episode when it airs, any standard episodes, and I will of course do overall reviews of the finale and the overall season 2 as well when it's released. So those are my quick thoughts on Star Trek Picard season 2, the trailer, and whether it can convince fans going ahead for both seasons 2 and season 3. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think it actually merits a season 3? How much longer can Patrick Stewart, because he is getting on now, how much can he keep performing the role as Jean-Luc Picard, because obviously he's integral to the show? Do you think any of the supporting characters can carry the show and go forward? I think the most popular character was probably Rios. He seemed to have the most charisma out of all of the Star Trek characters. Will they shift 7 of 9 forward to become much more of a prominent lead character if we do get season 3 and season 4 going ahead? Let me know what you think in the comments. Please also hit and like the subscription and like and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.